Yeah, I think it's subjective. As I said, there are some individuals. Not I only gave a very singular answer in terms of they want to kind of just prove their worth or impress. But I'm sure it's just in somebody's personality that okay, I cannot kind of go to bed without going getting to the bottom of this or doing a root cause analysis or something, right? So it's going to be difficult to change on how you approach any given situation or problem. But what you can do is over time, at least kind of be flexible to have the right checkpoints in terms of, yes, you still own the discovery and resolution, but at least at the right time, at least having someone vet that you are on the right path, you're not down a rabbit hole, or at least kind of give you alternate suggestions to consider. You completely own kind of testing those out, seeing if they're worthy. But that's definitely, and it's not that it's going to just like we discussed it here and people are going to adapt, but you will see in the industry that that is what kind of most team cultures and organizations kind of respect and move towards as a company. And that is where I think teams thrive, is that the sum of all is better than the kind of output of the individual in some sense actually. So yeah. I think it's in the beginning of your career. I would say the first half of my career was more challenging. The reason being, I mean, there's definitely a lot of challenges now, but I've built the emotional intelligence and the resilience to kind of know on when to hustle or when to feel chaotic based on the challenge. Initially, you want to grow as an individual. You also want to impress as an individual, trying to kind of get to that next stage. And that's why you take on a lot of challenges, or especially when you are kind of an individual contributor, what you see is the surface of the problem, right? So that's why you feel that this is going to be something that is going to disrupt kind of the focus, or this is going to be a very challenging situation. But if you learn to ask the right questions and dig deeper, then you know that okay, this is a problem for 6 months from now, or this is a problem that does not have a straightforward answer. It's going to need more collaboration. So in the early years of my career, I took on a lot of kind of that mental investment personally, taking on a challenge in terms of okay, how do I do right? Maybe I'm being put on the spot, and I'm being tested on how do I come out of this challenge. But back then, if I knew that there is a support system, there is collaboration, there is just the art of kind of asking the right questions and working as a group, or there's a lot more to just kind of proving your individual, I would say, worth and talent, which I tried to make a lot of mistakes early on to map it out, and then I would take that extra additional pressure each kind of cycle on that. So that's why I'd say it was not more the type of challenges; it was more so around the approach on how to reach a path of resolution, or even kind of do triage of a certain situation. That's where I struggled, I would say, in the first half of my career, not knowing how to. I think it's in the beginning of your career. I would say the first half of my career was more challenging. The reason being, I mean, there's definitely a lot of challenges now, but I've built the emotional intelligence and the resilience to kind of know on when to hustle, or when to feel chaotic based on the challenge. Initially, you want to grow as an individual. You also want to impress as an individual, trying to kind of get to that next stage. And that's why you take on a lot of challenges, or especially when you are kind of an individual contributor, what you see is the surface of the problem, right? So that's why you feel that this is going to be something that is going to disrupt kind of the focus, or this is going to be a very challenging situation. But if you learn to ask the right questions and dig deeper, then you know that okay, this is a problem for 6 months from now, or this is a problem that does not have a straightforward answer. It's going to need more collaboration. So in the early years of my career, I took on a lot of kind of that mental investment personally, taking on a challenge in terms of, okay, how do I get do right? Maybe I'm being put on the spot, and I'm being tested on how do I come out of this challenge. But back then, if I knew that there is a support system, there is collaboration, there is just the art of kind of asking the right questions and working as a group, or there's a lot more to just kind of proving your individual, I would say, worth and talent, which I tried to make a lot of mistakes early on to map it out, and then I would take that extra additional pressure each kind of cycle on that. So that's why I'd say it was not more the type of challenges; it was more so around the approach on how to reach a path of resolution, or even kind of do triage of a certain situation. That's where I struggle.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vibe It Up, the podcast where we explore the dynamic world of tech. I'm your host, Dan Tudorache, and I bring over 20 years of experience in the software development industry, wearing multiple hats as a solution architect, leadership coach, trainer, and now as a psychologist too. So, you might be wondering, what's the vibe all about? Well, Vibe It Up is not just a podcast, it's a community, a space where we connect with tech professionals. So it's not just about the code, it's about the people that write that code. So we are creators, and I have with me another creator today. Hello, Anand. Welcome.
Hey Dan, thank you for the warm welcome and an excellent kind of introduction. I really love the mission of For Vibe It Up.
Thank you very much, and I'm eager to find more about yourself, about your journey in tech, and what brought you in tech. So, what role are you in now?
Yeah, so currently I am serving as for the role of a director of data engineering. The company that I work for is called Zinnia, and it is an insurance tech company. So it has a really strong footprint in kind of North America in the life and annuities and property and casualty insurance space. It also did a couple of notable acquisitions. Policy Genius was an acquisition that it did last year, which is a well known digital marketplace in the US for insurance shopping. And then we also recently decided to acquire Ebix's North America life and annuities business. So uh, it's a 2,000 plus people organization, and I lead the data engineering division for them.
Wow! And what's a day in the the role of data engineering?
Yeah, so I'm still 5 months into this role, but the day is like most technical leadership roles, part structured, part interrupt based, and priority shifting based actually. So I think you need the right mindset, and kind of just being alert on what is important and urgent actually, because things can shift in that sense. But the day revolves around, I would say, either some form of kind of say building and maintainability of current existing data pipelines, trying to find opportunities with our application database stakeholders on what are uh, kind of more valuable insights and data points to extract into data warehouse, trying to further our data warehousing philosophy and working with stakeholders on serving their purpose, but also trying to identify kind of self-serve opportunities and building the context. So a mix of business, technology, and cross-functional collaboration overall day to day.
Mm, okay. And did you wanted to enter in the management role from tech, or it was just the time?
Great, great question. Actually, it's a very important, I would say, crossroads that each engineer arrives at some point in their career, not in reality, but at least from a thought perspective on where do I take my career, either scale vertically as a technical leadership track, kind of senior staff, principal engineer, or whatever the granular leveling, or foray into kind of management and proceed there. For me personally, it was not something outright kind of in the first, I'd say, 5 years of my career, where I had this imposter syndrome, using this a thorough term, but very real in terms of I did not feel the confidence as a technical individual yet to be able to represent engineering concepts and drive solutioning with, say, the non technical stakeholders, or kind of other business entities. So that's why I spend time trying to build my technical foundation and kind of perfect, or not perfect, improve myself as an engineer, that I felt confident enough to finally consider a management path. To your original question, yes, the management path was a bit intentional on my end. I have always enjoyed kind of uh, getting into, I would say, the details when necessary, but also using a T-shaped model and kind of zooming out and looking at the entire kind of life cycle. I started it as a software engineering test, so very close to kind of the product and the acceptance side of things. Moved into a full stack kind of engineering. So I continue to shift left, then being involved with kind of the working with the customer, driving kind of success, establishing metrics. And people management and leadership have always been a part of my personal life in terms of my community involvement, or other connections. So that was a little bit intentional as kind of connecting the dots and establishing a career out of it.
Awesome. And if you just started to mention about your journey and how it all began, the journey in tech.
Yeah, so I think it was for me through an academic route. So I did my bachelor's in information technology and my master's. Then I came to the US from India to do my master's in computer science. And from there, at that point, this is what, 13, 14 years back, it was basically trying to find a role that gives me enough exposure on what kind of an industry application of the engineering academia that we learn is actually, right. So it was not intentional that I need a specific role, a specific industry. It's like there was very less to choose from at that point. It's more so about what gets a foot in the door is critical at that point, and you should be very open and kind of adaptable to the kind of opportunities that come your way. So uh, having that mindset, I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity with eBay to start as kind of a quality assurance tester back then through an internship while I was still in my master's. So I, as I said, was exposed to kind of the testing pillar of the SDLC, and I began my journey into quality assurance testing for, say, the next 3 years or so, moving from manual testing to automation, then kind of changing the tech stack, trying to kind of then adopt a TDD approach. And after not only fixing tests, then also writing the code related to kind of the tests that were fixed. And that got me interested more into then the uh, building and the development side of things, actually. So was again fortunate enough that the company that I was with back then, I had changed companies and moved to New York to work for a startup in the travel kind of space, doing advertising technology and predictive analytics. They kind of, I would say, re did my role and focus to become a front end engineer. And that is kind of how I started my path into core software engineering, being a front end engineer, then picking on full stack, then a little bit of kind of platform engineering. And almost being in the startup land, you need to wear many hats, as you said in your intro. And on the engineering side of things, my day revolved around any sort of front end or back end task, or even kind of owning the build and deployment of that, seeing it through, communicating with stakeholders or the wider account team, and making sure that it's live and enabled in production. So that continued for another, I would say, 3 to 4 years. And that is where I was acting delivery lead. I was also doing kind of a lot of, I would say, day to day engineering IC work, individual contributor work. And I started practicing the people management side of things, which is through internal mentorship, because I'd built enough kind of subject matter expertise and context of the business use cases at that point. And started also doing some extracurricular work in terms of leading a Toastmasters chapter for the company and served as a president. So a lot of that kind of amounted into me then formally moving into an engineering manager role with another company during COVID times, and since that has continued into an EM senior EM director positions at varying companies of different sizes over the past 5 years.
Wow, impressive journey, I might say, and I can see the continuous development path you had. So starting from um, testing and manual automation, after that front end, back end, and after that, in the end, engineering management roles. So I don't know. I guess now you. But let me ask you one when you had the most challenging times in the beginning of your career or later.
I think it's in the beginning of your career. I would say the first half of my career was more challenging. The reason being, I mean, there's definitely a lot of challenges now, but I've built the emotional intelligence and the resilience to kind of know on when to hustle, or when to feel chaotic based on the challenge. Initially, you want to grow as an individual. You also want to impress as an individual, trying to kind of get to that next stage. And that's why you take on a lot of challenges, or especially when you are kind of an individual contributor. What you see is the surface of the problem, right? So that's why you feel that this is going to be something that is going to disrupt kind of the focus, or this is going to be a very challenging situation. But um, if you learn to ask the right questions and dig deeper, then you know that, okay, this is a problem for 6 months from now, or this is a problem that does not have a straightforward answer. It's going to need more collaboration. So in the early years of my career, I took on a lot of kind of that mental investment personally, taking on a challenge in terms of, okay, how do I get do right? Maybe I'm being put on the spot, and I'm being tested on how do I come out of this challenge. But back then, if I knew that there is a support system, there is collaboration, there is just the art of kind of asking the right questions and working as a group, or there's a lot more to just kind of proving your individual, I would say, worth and talent, which I tried to make a lot of mistakes early on to map it out, and then I would take that extra additional pressure each kind of cycle on that. So that's why I'd say it was not more the type of challenges; it was more so around the approach on how to reach a path of resolution, or even kind of do triage of a certain situation. That's where I struggled, I would say, in the first half of my career, not knowing how to find a way, or if I needed to find a way myself alone.
Yeah, I understand. And speaking of supporting systems and mentors and people that helped you, how did you feel the importance of that, and how did you went to search and call for help when needed?
Yeah, I think a big part of that is breaking that initial, as I say, right, like breaking the ice, or crossing that initial barrier from within. You need to build that confidence to put yourself out there that, hey, I don't know this, I'm trying to learn, and showcase vulnerability, as they say. For me, the kind of reviews that I got back then, or feedback, was, okay, you are a little bit too shy, because I was an introvert back then. I do a lot of talking now, given my role and needs, but I used to not engage or speak enough in kind of team meetings or forums, trying to dismiss a lot of ideas or questions in my head, thinking maybe this is too naive, or what would the audience interpret that I don't know the answer to this actually, right? While in a one-on-one fashion, I was much more comfortable trying to bring that topic up. So the my managers, or kind of the senior engineers back then, would give me feedback that it's okay to kind of ask questions. This is how we iterate and learn, only by practicing. That is the best way in kind of engineering to kind of just know what is the blast radius of what you're attempting. And that's why you have the canary deployments, blueprint deployments, you have staging environments, you have tests actually, so that you can learn, pick on new ways, optimize, and iterate. So I think it was not overnight, but through those kind of engineering years, as I said, the first 5 6 years, over time I became more comfortable to put myself out there, whether I had something um, I would say valuable to add to the conversation, or if I had a question or say that, okay, request for help, I don't know this, can you come pair with me, or can you just look over my solution and give suggestions actually. So that's why it's definitely more on us as the individual on first convincing yourself that the only way to get kind of better at what you're doing is through iterate and problem solving and trying to knock out more opportunities. And in that process, you need to kind of set, I would say, good guardrails on when to attempt solving something yourself, or when to ask for help. People use Pomodoro methods or like a clock, or all sorts of techniques on how do you kind of determine, okay, this is a point where I need someone to have a second set of eyes, or this is something where I want to spend a day and try to get to the bottom of.
Mm. And you mentioned here a lot of skills that are being part of overall emotional intelligence skills, and that's mostly because young engineers, people in the from tech, starting their careers, are somehow more shy. They don't go to ask for help. They sit there for 2 days, 3 days in a bug, and and don't ask for help. I don't know. Maybe it's important the culture they came from, and if the culture was a supportive one or a shaming one, the one that throws with shame and blame, that you cannot do that by your own and you need help, and that it become a limiting belief or a blockage in your system, and you won't go to ask for help. And now the question is, how important are the emotional intelligence skills even in the tech world and for tech people?
Yeah, so there's a two-part answer to this. This is an excellent question. I would say, as if there's a young engineer listening, or just speaking from my personal experience, actually, uh, start small, right? Like rather than not doing anything at all, at least find one other young engineer that you can share this problem with, or one other senior engineer. Like most companies now have a soft mentor or a buddy program, or someone that they kind of in your team you can go to for help. At least try to see if you can bring that up, as I said, in a one-on-one fashion, and say that, okay, this is what I struggle with from kind of a personality, and just it's just frowned upon in our work culture, or the background that I'm from actually. And this is where I think we thrive as senior engineers or leaders actually, to understand, respect that diversity and train of opinion, and form a way of how do we kind of get them the support they need actually. So it's definitely on young engineers to have a conversation with literally anyone they feel comfortable with. Build your own support system, build your own kind of safety net, and kind of go up from there. The second part of this is, as engineering leaders, managers, and senior engineers or tech leaders listening as well, this is where you might need to take the first, I would say, stab and check in on people who are either new to the organization or kind of young in their career, to say, okay, do you have any questions it is okay to ask, or point out kind of your own instances where, okay, you feel I have everything figured out, but look, I just posted a question in that Slack channel for help because it's honestly kind of making me crazy. A day later, I'm still not able to get it. I'm sure it's something silly. So it's going to be a lot of kind of radical candor in that sense, in terms of trying to lead by example and showcasing, like, okay, I don't know the answer to this, I'm going to just post it out there and see what shakes out, or what somebody responds. And they will start to look at it and start to slowly model that behavior, like, okay, this is a culture where it's okay to kind of be open and transparent. This is how we level up as an organization or kind of build a sustainable, high performing organization in that sense. So that's why it's two part in whatever approach anyone might want to take, depending on the audience.
Yeah, yes, indeed. And I also remember that back in my days, I had some, I don't know, team leaders, senior devs that whenever you went to them with the question, they said, "Okay, did you read the F manual?" And it was, did I? No, I don't remember. But yes, then I started to create this problem solving skills barely to search for the cause of the problem and search also for documentation if you can find something, if you have there online. And only after you have finished those things, you go and ask and you put those on the table. So I did that, I did that, I did that. No, I didn't get a better result, to say like that, but it's part of the learning process. How did you or anyone working in tech allow themselves, where's the limit, to say, where's the limit until you search and you cannot find or cannot solve for your own? That's it. What do you think is the limit?
Yeah, I think it's subjective. As I said, there are some individuals. Not I only gave a very singular answer in terms of they want to kind of just prove their worth or impress. But I'm sure it's just in somebody's personality that, okay, I cannot kind of go to bed without going getting to the bottom of this, or doing a root cause analysis or something, right? So it's going to be difficult to change on how you approach any given situation or problem. But what you can do is over time, at least kind of be flexible to have the right checkpoints in terms of, yes, you still own the discovery and resolution, but at least at the right time, at least having someone vet that you are on the right path, you're not down a rabbit hole, or at least kind of give you alternate suggestions to consider. You completely own kind of testing those out, seeing if they're worthy. But that's definitely, and it's not that it's going to just like we discussed it here and people are going to adapt, but you will see in the industry that that is what kind of most team cultures and organizations kind of uh, respect and move towards as a company. And that is where I think teams thrive, is that the sum of all is better than the kind of output of the individual in some sense, actually. So yeah.
Mm, yeah, and regarding uh, efficient team or performant teams, I have seen many patterns, working styles, and so on. Many types of management and managers, and what do you think is the main challenge or blockage, or I don't know, that tech teams had in order to communicate better, or stopping them to communicate better?
Yeah, so I think that that's also a really important question, and I think some work and initiatives have been done in this area, but it's really important to have tech be involved or be an active stakeholder right from the start, when there is even something being spitballed as an idea, actually, right? To just kind of vet that, okay, yes, this is doable in a week, or hey, don't think about this for another year, actually, because it's not where we are set up from an infrastructure or security standpoint to support those needs. So I think this is where tech teams struggle with collaboration and communication, where if they are left out of the kind of say discussion pieces or the scoping, when there's an entire kind of roadmap, product roadmap established, without knowing whether we'll have the capacity or the ability from a technical standpoint to support it. So that's why you see a lot of now blended product and engineering roadmaps emerging, where you even get input from kind of marketing, sales, or business stakeholders in terms of, or customer service stakeholders in terms of, okay, what is it that you are hearing in the industry from our current and future prospects. And that is going to be an input to building a roadmap then for the product team. Then you kind of say, okay, on the technical side, even to kind of attempt this particular item, what needs to change now to be able to build this 6 months from now, actually. So I think that is where it's been struggled. It's not only what I'm saying is that the problem is outside of technology, it's also on the technology and engineering teams to make time for this. The leaders of today are now realizing that it is important to be in these conversations versus trying to be in isolation, just focusing on delivery of your teams and writing code. Actually, it's a whole lot more than just writing code to deliver something valuable as a feature or drive impact to the customer, whatever the model, right? B2B, B2C, in whatever case. But that's why I'm seeing it's just both sides need to hold up their end of the bargain, right? Bringing technology into the mix and technology creating time to make sure that items are being kind of factored in rather than simply executing in vacuum and then blaming it out that, okay, we were not a part of the problem statement to begin with.
Yes, yes, indeed. There are multiple facets, different leadership skills that need to be applied here in this situation, and yeah, and there is this, as we discussed earlier, regarding your step in the management role, because many tech people, good programmers, are pushed into leadership roles without being ready for a management, middle management, or leadership role in terms of skills. What was your experience on this? Not just maybe yourself, but with other people and so on.
Yeah, so I've not experienced it myself, but I might have certainly made the mistake to propose someone to take on that, or they might have taken it to just found out that they don't enjoy that role at all. So I would say, and I think I even saw a stat somewhere. Maybe it was you also shared that there are a lot of accidental managers, as the industry calls it, in terms as that regards. So my take on that is. Most times it is driven by organizational constraints or opportunities where us as kind of a leadership or a management I would say team feel that a certain individual, because they are excelling at managing the delivery, trying to estimate better, work well with stakeholders, communicate, we feel that okay, they are able to take on a people management role. But it's not often the case. It's what I've come to realize that these skills are equally and maybe more important in the technical leadership track. That is what kind of excellent staff engineers or principal engineers do, is have all of those qualities, just not have the, I'm going to be really loose and say, the administrative side of things of people management on that regard, right? It's difficult for them to uh, work through the process of kind of working with an individual's career goals, emotional baggage, the personal and professional, or letting people go. One of the top things I hear from my top kind of staff engineer, principal engineers is, how do you sit through that kind of reorg call and let someone go? I could not do it. Like you have some guys to kind of just be on the call, kind of just saying someone that you're no longer part of the company. We have been on both ends, right? Just being let go and also being a part of that. But it takes different reasons for someone to not kind of just uh, do aspects of management. And I stress people management most as part of the management, because that is where I think people hesitate a little bit in terms of the role that and then the focus it requires in that particular piece. But all of that being said, if someone does have that experience actually and is not a fit based on their kind of interest or from an organization standpoint, it's still okay and not a big problem, because it's very not very easy, but it's possible to go back to being an engineering individual contributor. So if you feel that there is something worth trying, don't be afraid to try. Actually, that's my only point. If you're forced into a situation, speak up and let know, rather than not kind of enjoy and not be motivated enough to have the morale to then even motivate an entire team or an organization that you lead and manage. But if you are on the fence, it doesn't hurt to see if there's a kind of a soft opportunity or an informal role to take that on, kind of say with a couple of members, junior engineers or interns, or try that out for a quarter or to a year and then decide on, okay, is this a path I want to formally pursue? A lot of managers and team are really, really open to that idea. And cultures actually. So I would say don't hesitate, but then also don't feel that because you're pushed into this, this is kind of a thing that you just need to live with it actually.
Yeah, and if you were to give an advice for a senior developer or something like that, this level that wants to get into leadership and or a middle management position, what will be the main three trainings or courses that he she needs to take?
Yep, it's going to be a mix of industry learnings and also people internal or in their extended network who have just gone on this journey in the last 2 to 3 years actually, because there's going to be a lot of say foundational frameworks or how to approach any given situation or problem that these academic kind of material will teach you. But then there's also like, okay, depending on your industry or company, there's also, but this is how it works here, or this is how you approach the culture here. And that is kind of that added layer of context you need, that you cannot always simply, like how you cannot mimic the success or failure of a past role going on to a new role or a new organization. You need to be open to perspective, be willing to, that's why you have a lot of tools in your toolkit, but not necessarily that this technique worked with my last team. I'm literally going to spend 6 months and force that technique on the team thinking that it will work actually. So that's why I think it's a combination. In terms of the courses, there are a lot of books out there, and kind of industry talks. I know The Making of a Manager is a good book actually. Then there is a lot around just the mindset, right? As they say, turn the ship around, where the Navy SEALs kind of have the say the five dysfunctions of a team or the five whys actually. So there's a lot of material out there. I have a bookcase full. I could just look here and accelerate is there, applied empathy, lean startup, thinking fast, thinking slow. There's a gazillion things out there actually in here. But that's why I think I'm not trying to uh, pivot people towards a lot of strategic things, because those are more strategy and kind of how to win as an organizational leader. I'm trying to ground towards how do you kind of establish the path to management actually. So there's also a recent book that Larson, who's a CTO of Com, that kind of put out, the Engineering Executives Primer. Read that not because you are going to be an executive soon, but read that because how do your managers and the executives think? It's really important, I think, to become an effective middle manager, to know on how your manager or executive leader is thinking, or why they're asking certain things, or what is their kind of motivation or drive. And managing up is also a really, really big part of success, rather than simply kind of managing the delivery and execution of your team.
Yes, yes, indeed. There are multiple materials, courses, trainings, and a lot of developments to be done in the new role because it involves actually three main areas, which is the self part in the first place, the emotional intelligence that is oriented towards yourself, to know yourself, to self-regulate, to know your emotions and control your emotions. Because the communication most of the time is limited by our emotions, because we don't allow ourselves to speak. We don't allow ourselves to, I don't know, be on a stage to give a public speak or something like that. Our emotions control us, and we need to go back and control our emotions, and which is the first. There's all. of course, the business acumen, which is related to the technical side, the business side, the management tools and skills, and also the social one, because you need people skills in that roles, and all these areas need to be addressed, to be an efficient and supportive leader. And I do wonder how it was for you. What challenges did you had in this role in the last, I don't know, 1 year?
Yeah, so I think for me, when I consider my leveling and kind of the role, I've moved beyond the manager, senior manager, just being a frontline manager. I'm now this director position, depending on the org size. Now I'm a director at a 2,000 people company. Previously, I was a director at a 275 people company. So it's a mix of tactical, but also driving some of the strategic work, right? You are still responsible for driving the tactical day-to-day outcomes of your organization, but then you're also tapped upon like, hey, you know your roadmap and the teams and the customer best. What are some strategic strides that we should make? And I need to now start thinking on how to give input to my VP and kind of the CX team on these regards. So for me, the challenge has been balancing that thinking on how do I solve for the next 6 months, but also start to develop a vision for that next 3 to 5 years, actually. And this is still a work in progress. I learn from my leaders on, okay, when do I need to be, I would say, solutioning at the micro level? And when do I need to kind of step back and see this as a macro problem that needs a rethink in a much larger capacity in that sense? So I'm trying to now focus on splitting my time between my team and making sure that they have kind of my focus, attention, and availability, but now partnering a lot more with my other cross functional leaders and stakeholders and building a support network or a team there, because that is how you are able to effectively strategize that you take on kind of what are their challenges or what are they trying to solve for, what are my challenges and how can we help each other, and that kind of becomes the strategy in terms of, okay, this is what each of us is trying to individually drive. Let's come to kind of a common forum and see what are some themes emerging out of that, right? You're also trying to solve for this problem from a different angle. I'm also trying to solve from, okay, this is something that as an organization we need to collectively look at on how to achieve this kind of next metric, or how to kind of find a way to track something, or how to kind of deliver a new product feature, and what is your roles from your team, my role from my team, and all those kind of items. So I'm trying to split my time into being on top of kind of questions, concerns, and the day-to-day escalations, and I would say solutioning on the delivery space, but also trying to partner with my stakeholders on, over this 6 to 9 months, we have clearly seen a pattern of issues, or we have clearly seen an area of opportunity. That strategize and come up with a theme of investment overall on how do we go from here. Say in 2 years from now, this is not a problem, or this becomes redundant, or this is just automated in some sense.
Yeah, indeed. A lot of things to be done. And you, speaking of creating or building a new team from scratch, what qualities would you look into that team members to help you in the future?
Yeah, so I think when you arrive at that decision to build a new team, it also depends on the context, whether you are starting as a acting head of engineering at an early stage startup and you're building an entire organized engineering organization, that being your team, that requires a lot of, I would say, uh, people who can wear multiple hats. I think you have come up with that best phrase, which is you need people who can adapt, and just kind of be flexible, who can handle a lot of different things. But then if you're trying to build a new team, say at an organization where I'm at, in like the mid to large size organization, I think it's mostly driven by uh, some form of business investment, or an opportunity, right? So you already have the context on what kind of team you need, actually, and then it's more about staffing specialist, either related to that kind of investment area, or to certain kind of skills that are required on their team actually. So I see a generalist versus specialist approach depending on the size and what are you trying to solve for based on the team you're trying to build.
Okay, and related to, I don't know, not necessarily technical skills, the complementary skills. What would you look for?
Yeah, so that's a great point. I think the first couple of people on the team need to be able to, I would say, be aware that their role is not going to be binary in any sense, that it's not going to be either 100% execution or 100% focused on, I would say, strategizing. It's going to be a mix of let's drive a wider, I would say, dialogue, see what we discover, try to iterate, do a spike or proof of concept, come back, evaluate actually. So it's going to be very iterative and evolution focused, and people need to be comfortable with that area, right? There are individuals which everything kind of approach is fine, but there are individuals who would rather say, get an initiative, go deep in there like a sprint, like or 2 weeks, a month, 6 months, and then deliver and then move on to the next thing. But then this is going to require a different mindset in terms of being able to shift three things in the day. One might be completely greenfield, one might be just a little bit of polish, or one might be purely discovery, which might not even merit to a solution. And you need to be okay with all three and establish your own piece with all three on how do I define success with all these three streams, right? In that regards, actually. So, wow, I don't know what happened there, but that's I think more so in terms of the soft skills in that regards.
Yeah, I don't know. You generated balloons.
Then maybe this was the best answer ever on your show. Just kidding.
I don't have buttons for those. I don't know what. But you were able to generate those. Okay, so um, if you would have dinner with someone from the tech industry, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I've not had that question in a while, actually. So, when you said tech industry, I think I would, I'm not going to say from the tech industry per se, but someone who worked closely with the tech industry. Uh, I'm sure you've heard, there's a coach that works with organizations and does a lot of kind of team culture and even personal development stuff for Simon Sinek. And again, uh, it's not that I have worked with him directly or I know, but this is someone I started kind of, I would say, uh, listening to, and I found that there was a mix of really broad stroke, but also really targeted small changes you can make, kind of daily items to consider. And I think one very popular kind of material for his is the infinite game, on how do you kind of give up fighting and trying to beat the competitor while you are your own competitor. And that has kind of helped me. Going back to that challenge problem, right? That has helped me change my mindset in terms of, do you think this is a mountain of a problem, or this is just kind of a little kind of just a blip in terms of the larger picture actually? And we are here for kind of the infinite game from a career perspective as well. It's not about getting that next promotion every 6 months or that next title. What's more strategic is like, the title means nothing if you're leading a team of two or not doing enough actually, right? So I could be a CTO a month from now by joining a co-founder who's just starting to think on new idea. But for me, it's more about sustained growth when I feel ready and I feel I have enough confidence and I've been exposed to those kind of opportunities and challenges in that sense. So I think it would be great to sit down with him and just zoom in a bit, because a lot of it that I see and hear is at kind of the organizational level. I would love to kind of have a conversation, mainly slightly selfishly, to have a chat with Simon and at the end of that dinner ask him, now that you know me as a person and my personality, what do you think are ways I need to kind of just uh, uh, be better, or what are some things I need to protect my own self from actually that you see in me?
Yes, yes, indeed. And usually, my my next question after this is, what do you need to make that happen?
Ah, that is great. It's now you're giving me homework, which I love. I think then the question would be basically the power of networking, right? If I really did want to make this happen, all I can do is attempt every channel, right? Trying to use the social media context, try to attend a talk. I'm sure there's going to be some form of highly expensive one-to-one coaching that he might offer, but there are ways to game it or also organically kind of be on his radar or show up to a seminar or a talk actually. But yeah, this thank you actually. I'm going to think on because it's someone that is tangible and kind of attainable if I really wanted to. How do I make that connection?
Yes, indeed. It would have been harder
Yeah,
if he
they're
was
no
dead,
longer.
but
Yeah,
because
yeah,
he's alive. So
yeah. True.
it's up to us to do something in that
Yeah,
direction, and we can create a strategy, and we can create small steps every day for
yeah.
that. So
Yes.
I'm pretty sure you can figure out something.
I'm sure. Yes, I'll see. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so as we prepare for final thoughts from the podcast, is there a particular piece of advice or insight you would like to leave first with the audience?
Yeah. So I think the only advice I would say is definitely trying to have internal clarity drives a lot of external clarity actually. So it's okay to like I write about this as well. It's okay to say no at times if you don't feel confident that you are able to kind of uh, show up to a conversation with value or solve a particular problem. Like, don't be compelled to just dive into it for the sake of it. Just see if this is engaging enough for you, if this is kind of going to generate external value and giving you internal satisfaction. There are a lot of I would say constraints in the real world and the tech industry that it's easier said than done. But at least, as I said, trying to find an opportunity or building that mindset over time, you will see that you will kind of be able to dial down quite a bit and focus on things that you love enjoying, and then the wider team and I would say the leadership group will support you, because at the end of the day, if you enjoy what you're doing and can kind of do that best, that is what will give the maximum ROI in terms of kind of employee engagement and any kind of customer or brand value for any organization.
Awesome, thank you. And regarding the podcast, is there, I don't know, one idea or something that you took out from today?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation in terms of it gives everyone a moment to kind of reflect, take a pause and reflect on their journey, but also kind of how they arrived, or organically or through kind of a certain situation. And it also sets you up for kind of say in the future, how would you grow from here, right? Because everyone is, I'm sure they have a long way to go in their career and journey. So this is almost a milestone or a midpoint check-in. So you giving the people and the audience to kind of through my journey do this evaluation for themselves actually, and try to map out on what is it that they seek, and where do they want to kind of go from here. It's a wonderful medium that you're doing this through that.
Hmm. Thank you very much. And it is clear for you now, or do you need to seek for?
No, it's appearing to be clear for me now, but it's gonna need a little bit more time and effort. So it's clear to me that I need to prioritize these things more rather than just being caught up in the day to day, actually.
Yes, indeed. Many many time we caught ourselves in the action and forget about planning strategy for ourselves, not for the company and not for anyone else. There. Okay. If you want to share your information on how listeners can connect with you after the podcast, any social media profiles, websites, or anything else.
Yeah, I think LinkedIn is kind of my go-to now in terms of just at least establishing a genuine connection, and then from there we could branch out to a coffee chat or a mentorship chat. I do a lot of that depending on kind of the time outside my day-to-day role. So you can look me up by my name. I have a photo which has glasses in that. Those are just kind of Blu-ray filter glasses that I put on. But yeah, just Anand Safi is the name. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, thank you very much. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Vibe It Up. I hope you enjoyed our insightful conversation with Anand Safi. Before we go, I want to extend a big thank you to our guest for sharing his valuable experience and perspective. So, if you, our listeners, have been inspired or have burning questions after this episode, I encourage you to connect with us. You can find more about Vibe It Up on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and other social media channels. Connect with me, connect with Anand, and just ask us any question that you might have. Thank you very much, Anand. It was a pleasure to have you, and I hope you enjoyed our talk.
Likewise, Dan. Thank you so much for, as I said, for giving me the opportunity to take an hour, reflect, and share some thoughts actually with the audience.
Thank you very much.